Hello, it is the end of March. This is my March wrap-up. Well, actually, it's the start of April by the time you're watching it. It's the start of April. It's spring! There is going to be a sun in the sky, and it's going to be warm. I mean, there's always a sun in the sky, but, you know, hopefully there's going to be less clouds. I don't know why I'm so optimistic. April is literally called, like, April showers. But, you know, a girl can dream, okay? A girl can dream. So, I got bangs, but, well, I got rebanged. I got bangs cut in, like, 2 haircuts ago, and then consistently, like, got them topped up the last haircut, but they weren't quite short enough last time, and they just kind of disappeared really quickly, and now I need to wash them, so we're just going to ignore that they're there and push them to the side for now, because don't judge me on them how they look right now, because they're going to look better when I've washed them. But anyway, I got bangs. Also, this chair, it's not playing ball, it's swiveling me all over the place. Okay, right, hi, we're here for my March wrap-up. These are the books that I read in March. I read 6 books in March. I've been consistently reading 5 books so far this year, so 6. We've leveled up a little bit, which is good considering I have just been playing a crap ton of Zelda for like a month consistently, so the fact that I actually read on top of that, magic. Why is this chair so squeaky? I did my first wedding photography shoot yesterday, and I'm so excited with how it went, and I'm still really feeling the high from that, but I'm also so exhausted from it, and my body, I was like laying in bed thinking I don't actually feel like I'm in that much pain, and then I got up and went to the loo. Anyway, let's talk about the 6 books that I read in March. The first book I read was on my Kindle, and it is The Legacy by Elle Kennedy. This is like the kind of 5th book to the Off-Campus series, except that was a quadrilogy. What's it called when there's 4 books and it's a quadrimania? Quadrilogy comes to mind, but I don't think that's it. There's 4 books in that series, and this is like the 5 years later book, or like a certain amount of time later. That series is following 4 different couples at their time at university in America, and it's kind of smutty, it's kind of fun, it's kind of easy, it's just like a very fun reading experience. And this book is the 5th book, kind of, and it follows on years after the events of the last book, and it's just so fun to revisit these characters. It's 4 short stories put together, and it just feels like a great experience reading it, and like you're kind of at their own reunion, really, and it was just fun to see where they were at, and I really liked it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because it was just easy and enjoyable. Then it was time for the reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This one is an arc. It comes out on the 2nd of April, so I think that it will be out by the time you're watching this video. Yeah, it'll be out by the time you're watching this video. This book was great. I had a great time with this book. The premise of this is that Rachel Price has gone missing like 15 years before the events of this book, and her daughter was left behind in the wake of this, and there's been like a lot of media around it, and somebody's decided that they're going to make a documentary about it, and they're filming this documentary when her mum reappears, and she explains what's happened, and her daughter doesn't believe her and decides to try and look into it and pick apart this story. If you watch my vlog where I was in London for World Book Day and going book shopping, I spoke a lot about this book in that vlog, so go check it out if you haven't. It was a fun vlog anyway, but this book was so addictive. I will preface this with saying there is one thing that happened at the end of this that I won't tell you what it is, that I felt was quite frustrating, and I have had that frustration before with the Final Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and I would love to discuss that with people once people start reading and finishing this book, because it did annoy me a little bit that there was this moment. I just felt like it was very unrealistic, and I'm aware I'm reading fiction, but it felt jarring. However, for the most part, this was a great fun adventure. I kept guessing, I didn't know what was happening, I kept like getting some answers and then more questions were being asked, and it was a really, really fun time. It kept me on the edge of my seat. I literally gasped aloud when I read a specific part in this book in the middle of a restaurant. It was great. It was really fun. If you are looking for a thrillery mystery that is going to keep you hooked and keep you constantly guessing, I would recommend this. I can't really tell you much more about it because we'll enter spoiler territory, but it was a good time. I gave it 5 stars. Go check it out. Off the back of finishing the reappearance of Rachel Price, I didn't really know what to pick up because that was just so good and fun. So I picked up Metronome by Tom Watson. This is one I bought once I had finished the reappearance of Rachel Price, so I was kind of after something that would give me that kind of hook again, and I just came across this in the Brick Lane bookshop, And it really appealed to me, partly because on the front cover it says it's got echoes of Emily St. John Mandel, and I really enjoyed The Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, but also the concept of it intrigued me. This is following a couple who have been exiled to an island for 12 years after a crime they committed together, and they're meant to be able to leave this island once their punishment comes to an end, but they're kind of tethered to this island by these pills that they have to take every 8 hours, I think it is, by this pill clock that gives them their pills. So they can't really leave or explore any further, and then when their sentence is meant to end, it just doesn't. This was a really interesting concept. The question of why they were there was kind of slowly being unfurled throughout the book, and also the idea of them being tethered there and just having each other for this long period of time, and the kind of humanity behind their punishment was a really interesting concept. I would say this is kind of Black Mirror meets The Handmaid's Tale. I think it had some really good questions in it and definitely kept me guessing. It felt like it was satisfying at the end as well. Like I felt like I got a good conclusion to it and I had a good time with it, and I'm really glad that I just stumbled across this one. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to the audiobook of the 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I listened to this on BookBeat. If you would like to receive a 2-month free trial of BookBeat, which comes out at 40 hours of listening, there is an affiliate link down below. It's a really great audiobook listening platform, and this was my first full read on it, and it was so good. This is a contemporary fantasy kind of situation, slightly into the fantasy section. It's a romance time travel book, and I had such a good time. It's following our main character who works at a publishing house in America, and she is experiencing grief, and she's kind of processing that, and everyone in her life is trying to help her process that. And she lives in her aunt's old apartment, and this apartment allows you to go back in time by 7 years. There's a 7-year time slip, and that's happening, and a romance is ensuing, and there's a time slip, so they're not actually like in the same time when they meet each other. It was so good. It was so fun. I love the publishing references. Also, our main character really liked travel, and I really enjoyed reading about that. There was so many funny things mentioned linked to actual things that have happened in the publishing industry, like with the book community as well, and it just felt like it was a bit meta in that sense. I had a great time with it. The narrator was really fun. I can't wait for Ashley Poston's next book, which is coming out later this year, which sounds equally brilliant. I love the little flickers of fantasy we get in this book. It nearly made me cry. I was listening to it at the train station the other day, and I was like, yeah, I have to stop listening, because the way that the grief was described in it just felt so raw and so real. It was great. It had a lot more heart than I initially expected going into it, and I loved it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read the third and final book in the Mina and the Undead series. This is Mina and the Cult by Amy McCaw. I was sent this one as well for an early review. This is following on from the events of the second book and then the first book, so I can't really tell you details, but the whole series follows Mina, who moves to America, New Orleans, and ends up meeting a lot of people that working herself around this like haunted house experience, and she gets involved in the community of people that do that, but also there's vampires and other forms of fantasy things going on. It's really fun. If you like Buffy and you like the 90s type of media, I think you'll really like this. It's all set in the 90s, so it's very phone free. It's very chilled vibes, except for when they're like getting themselves into pickles. But the fact that it's got this 90s setting, I think immediately just makes it feel more relaxed to me and feels really nostalgic, and I really loved all the references. So I had a great time with this. It was really fun, and seeing the conclusion, I'm pretty sure this is the third and final book. It's definitely the third book. I'm assuming it's the final book. But I had a great time with it, seeing the conclusion, seeing what happened to all these characters, and meeting a couple new characters as well. It was great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And the final book that I just finished this morning is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. So I read The Maidens first, then I read The Fury, then I read The Silent Patient. And I think I probably should have done The Silent Patient, then The Maidens, then The Fury. Or maybe I should have just done The Silent Patient and stopped at that. I enjoyed The Maidens when I read it, but so many people have disliked it that I wonder if I would enjoy it if I read it again now. I think The Maidens was one of those ones where I just had fun with it. Like, you know, some books, you're reading them because they are fun, not because they're amazingly written. And I think that's how I felt with The Maidens, but I had a good time with it. The Fury, didn't like the narrator. And everyone was like, okay, The Silent Patient is their best book. So picked up The Silent Patient. It was a fast read. I definitely tore through it. I think I read it in like about 3 hours. It was very compelling to keep going. But I hated the narrator. again. And I think you're kind of meant to dislike the narrator in this one and in The Fury. I can't really remember the maidens as much, so I don't know, but I feel like you're meant to dislike them. And I did. But I also found it incredibly predictable, and I think maybe if I'd have read them in a different order that might have helped, because I kind of got used to Alex Mikaelid's writing and the way that they structure their thrillers, and I think that kind of made me guess a little bit more of where it was going. So I think I probably guessed about 90% of it, so the surprise element just wasn't there for me. And I try and not guess things now because I end up ruining it for myself, especially with films and TV. But sometimes it's hard not to guess things when they're just there. So I felt a little bit let down by this one because everyone was saying that it was their best book. But honestly, I think maybe I'm done with Alex Mikaelid's. I think that The Maidens was situational. I enjoyed it because it was fun and it came to me probably at a time where I needed that kind of a book. The Fury, meh. And this, meh. It wasn't bad. It was just meh. I've read better thrillers. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, so it's very average, but meh. Thank you for coming along to this March wrap-up. Those are all the 6 books that I read. I actually have the beauty of picking a new book today, which is both daunting and fun. And I have no idea what I'm going to pick. I think something on my Kindle, because I'm doing a little bit of commuting to different places over the next few days, so probably something on my Kindle. I kind of want something fun and easy. The Legacy by Elle Kennedy that I read at the start of this month, that vibe was just good. It was what I needed. Everything's very busy for me at the moment. I'm doing so many things right now. I mean, I don't know when I'm not, but I just want something that's easy to jump into. So I think either something like that or a thriller I find quite easy as well, because they're so compelling that I just keep going and very much get like just one more chapter syndrome. So I don't know, but tune into my April wrap up to see what I pick. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.